the first thing we're going to do is put on an eye level. We want to put this high because we're going to be working on the ground mostly. So say a quarter of the way down from the top, I'm going to put a border on, and I need to do it so you can see where my paper is, obviously, but you should do it too. It's just get in the habit of doing that. It really does help in terms of presentation. And you can cross your corners. Okay, so about a quarter of the way down, we're going to put our eye level. Okay, and you can reinforce it and make some corrections. And we're going to put our vanishing point in the center. That's our VP. We're going to use 1 point perspective and start to draw some equal-sided boxes. Extremely valuable skill is to be able to draw an equal-sided box. We're going to use our hands for measure. So I'm going to use my index finger for the width and my index finger for the height. And if you have very small hands, use your longest finger to do this. That way things won't get too small on you. Okay, so that's our equal-sided box. And as you know, we need our vanishing point to find the part that's further away and that appears smaller. And there is a little secret for getting this to look as if the depth is equal-sided too, and that's to make an X in the box. And that's how you find the center of both the sides. It works whether you're in perspective on this side or whether it's facing us squarely, like it does in a perspective, in a 1 point perspective. Now, the secret is to take less than half and turn it on the side. If you have a scrap of paper, you can take less than half. So that's half, that's less than half. And in this orientation, I know this, I've done this many times, so I know that if I take less than half the width, I have a good chance of getting this to look like a cube, an equal-sided box. Which is important because quite often what we need to do is, now I made this line straight because all verticals in perspective are straight unless you're using 3 point perspective, because they're the same distance from us throughout their whole length. They're not turning away. We don't need the vanishing point for them. And because I'm trying to mimic this box at a distance, and I'm using the vanishing point to tell me how much smaller to make it, I stay within my perspective lines, and I do exactly what I did here. I just drew a straight line. And I want this line now, so I just do the same thing I did to get that one. I just do a straight line. There's that one. Now, you always need to have all of the hidden lines as well to do all the types of things we need to do. So you need to use the vanishing point to draw them as well. So you take all 4 corners to your vanishing point. And remember, you can do phantom lines if you make a phantom line until you're ready to make the actual line. So now I have this line down below. And now to make the line that will end this, where these two meet, will give me that. So it's all very logical, all works, and here now is my other line. Now I can do a very great deal with this, and that's going to give me an equal-sided box. One of the best tests of that is whether or not I could build a circle in it. So if we take our same measurement, we'll just come over here, take our same measurement, and that's my height, and we'll get the width now. This tip of my finger, there. This is great in meetings when you have to work quickly and you want to be accurate until you get used to judging it by eye. And even then, it can still go off on you, so better to do a check. But in an equal-sided box, a circle will fit. And it has to be equal-sided, so you make your X. And you draw down the middle, vertically and horizontally. And if you divide these diagonals into 3 parts, it will give you the placement of the arc of the circle. And we know the circle touches in these 4 places. So all we have to do now is just round it out. And you're thinking round because it will become pointy and like a join the dot drawing, which is really what it is, if you're not careful. So you have to kind of keep roundness on your conscious mind. Okay, so there's our circle, and I shouldn't be tickling like that. Anytime you start to tickle, you stop it and be definite in your stroke so that we can perfect our speed, get our speed up. It takes a long time. That's why we use a pen and we don't stop and erase. Now, the test for my box to see if it's equal-sided is whether when I put that diagram in here, is it going to look like an ellipse in perspective, a circle in perspective, or is it going to look like an oval? And that we don't want an oval. So here I go again. I'm putting my X in. And you're trying not to press. You're trying to go very lightly with your pen. And you need to use your vanishing point down the center. And over here. And the same thing is going to happen. I have this place, and this place, and this place, and this place. And that I know is where the circle is going to touch. So those are my spots that I'm watching, just like these 4. Now, I have to divide each of these diagonals up into thirds, but you'll notice that they're all different sizes. But you try to separate all the lines out from all the others and try to see them, just as from here to here and here to here. I have to separate them out. And then you try, see how much space. This is the place that can trick you up. There's a lot of empty space here, and there's a lot of empty space here. So what you try not to do is to match the circle to the square. You want it to be round, so you've got to zoom past and around those things in order to make sense of this and get it to look round. And there's my other mark. Now, if I could, I'd be turning my paper. And so if you can do that. I can't, but you can do that. So do what you need to do. So there we have, it's giving me an ellipse in perspective. It's sitting down in space. It's not popping up. And I didn't get the dreaded oval. That's the worst part, when you get the dreaded oval, because it's not what you want. It's not this that you want. A stretched out circle. You want one that will sit down in space. Now, you could go from there and you could make a cylinder, you could make a cone, you could do all sorts of things with it. But the real beauty of it lies in the ability to do this, to be able to find the next increment, so you could assign a measure to this. So we could say that this was 1 foot, and this was 1 foot, because we know they're all equal. That's 1 foot. And if you go from this corner, or any of either of the front corners, through the middle, and keep on going where it touches this perspective line, will give you the next foot. So you can actually measure something. As roughly as we started, we could actually measure, and as well, this would give us, 1 foot wide and 2 feet deep. And we can be pretty sure, if we're trying to be accurate, then we can judge whether or not this sketch that you're making is feasible. We can also light this. Now, normally your light source is going to be very much above, more than this, more than that, but that's all I can get on my paper. So put a dot for the light source and draw that down. The best lighting is side lighting, but I didn't leave enough from the side here, but we'll try. We'll see what this does. And I've got a dot now where the ray of the light, the center ray of the light source, is hitting the surface that this is sitting on. And all I have to do is project through that front corner in order to find the shape of the cast shadow. So it's going to cast a shadow out here. Now, what I have to do is go from that light source down through here and see where they meet. They meet there. So that makes sense. If this is all lit up, the box is interrupting this. I'm staying with the box. I'm not using the ellipse. But that box is interrupting the light that's hitting the surface. So it's going to interrupt it and be the absence of light now here. And this will tell me how long that's going to continue. And it only continues to there. Now this is the shadow for that line of the box. It's that. So this is the shadow for that. Now, to find the shadow for this, I have to do it the way that I drew that line, by using the vanishing point. So I have to draw that up. That's how I did it. That's how I made the line. So that now is the shadow for that line. Let's go through this corner. I'll go through that one. Oops. Getting too excited. Okay, so here we go. We've gone through that. Now, it's touching a perspective line, and look what happened when we touched a perspective line. We went the other way. So this is the shadow for this line. They're related. They belong together just the way those two did. But now there's an interruption. So that means that following this, the side of the box, this is the shadow for the side of the box. Now I have to do the back of the box, that hidden part. And how did I draw that? I drew it straight across. So that's how you draw that. You draw it straight across. And this one, if you go through this corner, it hits that back of the box here. So this shape, all back here, is the back of the box, and it stops here. Now if I do this on the other side, do I get any? Yes, it goes this way, but it's hidden by the box. I don't have any way of measuring this. If I do this, it just makes a line. See? Because normally what I would do is bring this over, but I can't do that. So I use this instead. And I know that these two meet. This is the shadow for that. This is the shadow for that. So all I have to do is go through this and see where it meets the front projection. And that's it. That's my shadow. The part I'm going to see is here. And the box is here. And this will make sense if we had a box in front of us and we could light it exactly this way. You would see this would be what we would see. And when you have a cast shadow, you also have a form shadow adjacent to it. And this is our form shadow, and we're going to put our hatching on so we can see. Now hatching is just skinny lines put side by side, close enough together that they make a value from light to dark. So, or just a solid value, not even thinking about light to dark. They just make a solid value. And you try to keep them as close together as you can, the darker you want it to be. And there's always shadow underneath as well. So this is an extremely valuable tool. And both of these things, knowing a cube and because it's a unit of measure. Now we know this is 2 feet by 1 feet. That's an important unit of measure.